All right. So I had to add a little ending part on my interview slash conversation with Lila Hart because, as tends to happen, big news broke the day after we did our recording. And I just wanted to tack on a little quick take here because I won't get to talk about it for a whole nother week. I might expand on this more and do a solo feed. As you know, Mean Age Daydream also has its own separate feed. I may do something else on there. So go ahead, subscribe to that, and maybe we'll see on Thursday if I bang something out. But in the interim, the Durham probe has been released. Merrick Garland has said nothing about it, and the White House, when asked for comment, of course, provided no comment. Why did they provide no comment on this 305-page document? Oh, that's right, because it essentially confirms every single suspicion that the Trump campaign, and by extension, the GOP, and by extension to that, all of us, conspiracy theorists, or people that just can see very blatantly when we're being lied to, when propaganda has been rolled out, when the Department of Justice and the deep state has been weaponized, well, that was all laid out very bare in this report. Now, the thing just came out. I've not read the 305 pages. I'm looking at other sources, but from sources like Jonathan Turley over to being libertarian, over to being anybody else who's written or thought about this, and even the Libertarian Party, I give them a kudos. They had a nice tweet today about the FBI and how it should frankly be disbanded. Because within this report, it says, plain as day, this was information brought to the Clinton campaign, run by Barack Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, run by then Department of Justice head Loretta Lynch, and of course the head of the FBI at the time, who it wasn't James Comey. I'm blanking on his name right off the top of my head, but Brennan, I believe. So this Steele dossier was brought over to them basically with full knowledge that it was total bullshit. Briefed at the highest levels. So now if you talk about corruption, you're talking about a sitting president seeing a document, which, by the way, the FBI did absolutely no research into. And the FBI has issued a statement corroborating this report, saying they didn't do shit. They didn't do any research. They didn't do any fact checking. They immediately launched an investigation. Why? That's right, because it was against Donald Trump, because it was politically expedient to put this shadow of quote unquote Russian collusion over his campaign. And at the same time that they're launching this investigation, you have flat out liars like Adam Schiff, one of the biggest pieces of shit I think that's ever lived, insisting that he has seen the evidence, that it is clear as day. You have Nancy Pelosi out there saying, well, we know there was collusion. We saw the documents. Really? Because this FBI has stated there was no collusion. There was no evidence. There was never anything linking Donald Trump to anything in the Steele dossier other than made up lies from Christopher Steele that were then pushed out from the Clinton campaign, pushed out by the Democratic National Convention with the full knowledge of the sitting president and vice president and Department of Justice. The FBI was tasked to go out there, dig up whatever dirt they could, and of course, there were leaks to the press nonstop from the FBI. There were leaks to the press from the Clinton campaign and Adam Schiff and Pelosi, as I already said. This is a clear weaponization of the justice system. Will anybody actually see any comeuppance for this? Of course not. Will Barack Obama get any backlash? Of course not. Will Joe Biden? Of course not, because we can see how these justice are selectively applied. Right? I was talking about this actually in my Good Morning Fuckhead rant a little bit today when this news just broke, and I was just shaking my head because it's very clear why this went the way it did. And I was wondering, is it because the FBI is patently for the Democrats? I thought, no, that doesn't make a lot of sense, does it, Brian? Because George H. Walker Bush, he was a former CIA head. Clearly, he was a Republican. He was a warmongering neocon Republican, right? But at least he tried to cut some taxes. His son, obviously, very Republican, right? So you've got a history of people being in the White House that were from the deep state, that are associated with these justice organizations. You think of Law and Justice and you think of more of the conservative bent. But yet, you have a Department of Justice under Loretta Lynch, say that name 3 times fast. You've got the FBI deciding that they're going to allow this entire charade to proceed. So why is that? If it's not clearly based upon partisan politics, oh, that's right, it's based upon establishment versus outside. That's the clear delineating line when it comes to the application of justice. That's why you've got people like Daniel Penny, the Marine who choked out Jordan Neely, right, and who died. That's why you have him being perp walked in front of the cameras to try to make him look like some horrible white demon. In the meantime, you have Hunter Biden basically having nothing done to investigate any of the claims that were made against him until very, very recently. This is why Hillary Clinton never went to jail, never was really investigated in any meaningful fashion or prosecuted in any meaningful fashion for her secret email servers. And in fact, in this very report, acknowledged in this report, the entire Steele dossier was created and pushed forward from the campaign of Hillary Clinton in order to draw attention away from her email server issues. Amazing how it works out. Now, what's the response to this from the FBI other than confirming everything in the fucking report? Oh, and by the way, I forgot to mention this. Adam Schiff still says that there is collusion. This mother effer is out there saying, well, Paul Manafort met with the Russians and discussed polling data with them. If that's not collusion, what is? As if, number one, who gives a flying shit if they told the Russians they have strategy with polling data? Who cares? Who cares? But number two, even that is nowhere in the report. And even that, the FBI has zero evidence for. So he's just making stuff up off the top of his head. He's just making it up to lie to the American public, excuse me. Just as he lied to all of these publications in the media who parroted every last word that he said, that the FBI leaked, that the Clinton campaign said, parroted without any, not even a minute of thought as to whether they're being lied to. And this really ushered in the newest era of patently partisan deep state operators coming out on mainstream media networks. Now, before, you might have a leak from the CIA or the FBI, but these people typically weren't sitting in front of you in your living room telling you to your face the lies, right? Since when do we put government spies on television to lie to us to our faces and somehow applaud them as though they're doing a great service for our country? Like, what the fuck are we talking about? So the FBI now comes out and says, well, we're sorry, guys. I mean, oh, shucks, gee. What are you supposed to do? We're just full of shenanigans, we is. It's like the fucking Little Rascals got out there. Do they have a dog with a spot on its eye that's the new mascot? He puts his face up to the back of a car and soot goes out into his face. Ah, shucks, we're the FBI. That should be their new fucking slogan. Aw, shucks. Ain't we kidders? Because that's what it's become. It's become the most untrustworthy organization, outside of the CIA. Known for what? For setting up fake terrorist attacks? For failing to stop real ones? For colluding with the sitting president to perpetrate Crossfire Hurricane, an attack which derailed a president, not only got in the way of a campaign, but derailed a presidency. Cast a shadow over everything he was trying to do. Cost the taxpayers millions of dollars. All we heard about. But aw shucks, guys, ain't we stinkers? And the FBI has now pledged that they are going to take a hard look. They're going to make it all better. Just like, all those police organizations that take hard looks and they, of course, review internally whether or not they did anything wrong and they pledge to fix it, but nothing ever changes. The only answer here does seem to be to completely abolish the FBI. Will something else replace it? I don't know. I'm sure it will. There's got to be some federal department or some federal bureau to investigate horse shit or not investigate horse shit, as the Department of Justice specifically told, in regards to the Biden situation with Hunter and with Joe, specifically told them to stand down from these things. And yet, no oversight, go full bore without any thought into seeing if these claims have any merit, completely derailing everything for 2-3 years. People still believe what's in the Steele dossier, and Adam Schiff's still helping it. I mean, it's unbelievable. The only thing I can hope is that, once again, I was tweeting about this, The number of scandals is shocking to behold that are now unfolding in front of the American population. I love that Robert F. Kennedy Jr. is out there talking about the CIA, how he is confident they killed his father, calling out the deep state, calling these things out. I mean, I think it will help him for sure. He's already within 1 point of the latest polls of Joe Biden, who, of course, has said nothing about this. Karine Jean-Pierre has said nothing about this. Of course, she's an imbecile. What would she possibly say? Crossfire Hurricane? I don't seem to have any information on that. Really? There's 305 pages? You don't have that? You couldn't find it? Just unbelievable. But the FBI has to be abolished. Now, one more thing I want to add, and this is going to be a quick rant. At the end of the day, I'm very busy person. But I also want to talk really briefly about the World Health Organization, because this also came across the bow today, and I guess this is actually something that had stemmed from, I think, May 10th. The World Health Organization, which I've already warned about the pandemic response treaty that they put out there. Well, they've done one better, essentially saying that now, under a concept called One Health, and Jeffrey Tucker had written about this today too, over Brownstone, One Health is a concept that the World Health Organization has now branded, which encompasses anything that could impact you, me, your mother, your ugly children, whatever it might be. It can impact anything, everything under the sun. If a gnat flies in your fucking eyeball and lays eggs and, gnat babies come out of your ear, One Health. Because that bug is part of our grand ecosystem. If you slip and fall on a cow shit that somebody left in the middle of a park somewhere, well, One Health. And if climate gets involved, people, they might be adversely affected by climate. So if you happen to have a little bit of extra swamp ass, One Health, because climate. Now, considering that the World Health Organization has an absolutely profound effect on how countries handle pandemics and what is declared a pandemic, this should be terrifying to anybody. Because I've seen the writing on the wall. I've talked about this before. The now King Charles had called it out when he was still a fat-fingered prince, saying, we have to treat climate as though we are in a state of war. Okay, well, we were also in a state of war versus COVID, right? We declared war on the pandemic. How did that work out? That's right. Trillions of dollars stolen, reallocated to the biggest companies, the banks, the biggest elites out there, right? People put out of work, massive unemployment. You had a third of businesses closed down. You had international trade. You had people trapped who couldn't leave. You had people couldn't see their loved ones. You had people dying, not from COVID necessarily, but of course from all of the things that we're now seeing, like cancer, like heart problems that weren't taken care of properly. We saw our educational systems collapse in on themselves because we declared war on COVID. And now, of course, we're supposed to declare war on climate. And under this new One Health concept, the World Health Organization can declare a climate pandemic, or as I said, I don't know, a horsecock pandemic, whatever it might be, because everything is related in our environment. Anything and everything can affect our health. Thus, their authoritarian instincts will be unhindered. They declare a pandemic, and now we have a pandemic against climate, right? It's a climate pandemic, everybody. Put your ponchos on here, take your ponchos off there. Put on your sweat soaking up underpants. I don't know. You're going to be extra sweaty today. It is pure and simple another method for control. It is pure and simple another way in which to dominate populations, to garner money and reallocate those funds, typically, again, from rich countries to poor countries. And on top of all of this, we're supposed to just nod along as though the last 3 years didn't happen. As though these fucking buffoons haven't destroyed everything they've touched, been wrong on every possible account, and yet we're supposed to trust them to take care of our health in every other aspect. No, thank you. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up. I was trying to play this Electric Liberty Land outro. I don't think I have it on here anymore. I got to upload it just for fun. Anyway, I'll play my regular old outro again. All right, bye. Subscribe. Join us on Patreon. Join us on Locals, guys. We will be going to PorkFest, by the way, teaming up with the Kibbies, Matt and Terry Kibbe, and Free the People. Really excited. We're going to be doing some really fun stuff with them over at their site. Comedy shows, live podcasts, happy hours. So if you're going to PorcFest, please find us. And if you want to help us out to get to PorcFest, to put on all these events with Free the People, well, a little dosh wouldn't hurt on top of all the bonus content you get. So please support the show, support us. Patreon.com/Lions of Liberty, lionsofliberty.locals.com. And if nothing else, subscribe, share the show, follow us on social media, give us a retweet. And if you're watching on YouTube or Rumble, please hit the notification button. It goes a long way. All right, guys, thanks. From me, Brian McWilliams, goodbye yet again.